Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and Iscal. Welcome back. So today is Tuesday, March 6th, and we have 4 days to our operating session. So I wanted to jump on here and I wanted to do a little update video and explain to you what's been going on before the big session. So I'm just going around the layout room, making final preparations. I wrapped up my last project Monday morning. That was installing LEDs and power switches for the Amboy's engine facility. So I wrapped it up and then took everything out of the layout room, did a real deep cleaning, dusted off all the buildings and the tracks, cleaned up, straightened up my toolbox, and just getting preparations done. So today, I'm just doing final preps upstairs, cleaning out the office and getting it all neatened up so I can set up the dispatch office up there, and just going through my natural progression here of my list of things to do and just checking them off and getting in preparation. So one of the projects I'm not able to wrap up before the operating session is going to be the Browns Yards panel, and that is out of my control. It seems that a bunch of parts are still on back order, mostly all my red LEDs and some of the switches. I was raring to go to get that finished, but unfortunately, like I said, I have no control over that. So I've come up with a plan B alternative, and that's going to be I'm going to clerk the layout tomorrow, and I'm going to pre-block out all the trains. This way the yard master can just pull blocks of trains and just assemble the trains out on the main. He can operate, he or she can operate the turnouts by hand manually. However, just working down here in the layout room, reaching over across the cars in the freight yard, have a tendency to knock some stuff over. And I can also see that could be just a long, aggravating day. So, I just figured for this session is to pre-block everything out and pull them out, assemble them on the main, and send the trains on their way. That's unfortunate because, I really wanted to test the yard operation this session, but, I'm just going to move on. The tendency would be just to cancel the session, but there's a lot of preparations that have gone in, and the gentlemen who are coming to my ops session, they made time in their schedule, so I don't want to cancel at the last minute. So I think this is a really good alternative, and I think we're just going to go with it. So then over the next tomorrow and the day after that, I'm going to be getting all the paperwork in order. I'll get my switch lists pre-written out for them. I'll get my Form Ds in order. I'll get all the cars moved where they need to be. I also have to update my engine roster. I have a couple of new power acquisitions that I got, so I need to make up car cards for them and put them over in the engine facility. And then Friday I have to work and then just set up Friday evening, so we're ready to go on Saturday. So we're getting close and everything. It's getting exciting, and I'm very positive, and I think it's going to be a great time. Okay, so I'm putting this video together because I want to do a little update and just show you all the little projects that I've been doing behind the scenes, and just tell you about them. They may have not been covered in the construction episodes, and also I want to show you some of the things that I've put together for the ops session coming up. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in Sayreville on the Sayreville running track, and I'll just take you around the room. And so with that, let's get started. Okay, so the first little stop's here in Sayreville. As you can see, the track work is all done, the tortoises are all installed. So this is Continental Steel here, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to make this a programming track. So I put some insulated rail joiners in there and insulated this portion of the track here. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I was getting sick and tired of having to pull out that programming track and plug it in when I wanted to program the locomotives. So now, this track, all I have to do is just pull these two cars, and it's fairly an easy pull. Just got to pull them off the runaround, and I could put the locomotive on there. So as you can see, there's the control panel there for the programming track, and I'll show you what I did there. So what I did here is I put in two double pole, double throw switches. Actually, this is a 3-position. This is a on, off, on, and then this is an on, on. So this is actually a 3-pole. So what happens is you can select between track power, and then you'll get the status LED, and that tells you that you're on track power. And then you can select to programming track down there, or you can put it in off and isolate it. So if you go to program, you notice the status light's not lit, but when you are using your programmer, this light will come on when because The programmers don't keep power on permanently. It's only when they're sending signals. So this light will kind of flash and flicker. So now I have two positions here on this switch, and I don't know if you can see it in the shadow. This one is for the Digitrax, and that is for off of my command station. Or if you flick it up to this position, that is for the ESU Loc Sound programmer. So this way you can select back and forth, and this way it's all wired in and we don't have to worry about swapping wires and plugs. Now this little plug here, this is a cinch Jones connector, and that's just a little outlet that I can, if I want to do work on the bench, I can bring in my test track and just run the cord up here and plug it in, and then I can either get track power or I can do programming on that. So it's kind of just a little bonus that I had the parts, and I figured, oh, that would be neat just in case I need it. So, you know, this little panel, it only took me about a day to put it together, and it's come in handy already. It's really simple to use, and you know, just to select your programmers. So now we're standing back here. We're actually in the peninsula area over by the yard. Now, if you pan up here and you look on the valance, I installed a Logic Rail fast clock. Now, you know, initially I wasn't planning on using fast clock because I wasn't going to be doing timetable operations. But then, you know, when I got more into the paperwork, I started to need to be able to fill out time. And, you know, I wanted to keep it realistic and operate a real day. So I'm like, you know what, let's use the fast clock. So I enabled the fast clock feature on the Digitrax system. And I would read the time off on the screen on my DT402. But then I got to think, and I'm like, wait a minute, my operators aren't going to be using the Digitrax 402. They're going to be using the UT4s. And the UT4s, if you know, is they are the small little handhelds that don't have a screen, versus the DT402 has the digital screen with so you can read the fast clock. So if my operators are using this one, how are they going to tell time? So went online and I found this really great fast clock made by Logic Rail, and I mounted it up there. It runs off 12 volt DC. It connects into the LocoNet, and the LocoNet is used for referencing. It keeps its own time, but it goes back to the DCC system just to check the time. So as you can see, it's moving along. What I really like about this clock is if I want to change any kind of settings on the fast clock, time ratio, if I want to put an alarm, if I want to go from 12-hour to 24-hour, I can do it all from there. I don't need my throttle. So I think that it's a really great feature, because I don't know if anybody's played around with your fast clock, but using the handheld throttle to adjust the fast clock, it's not easy. It's real quirky, and it's got settings, and you got to break out the manual. But this, you just got 4 buttons, select, and you just go through your different modes to change them. So great addition, great value. It was only $70, and it looks really good. And I mounted it up here on the valance, so this way you can see it from back here or on the other side of the layout over by Lakewood. So yeah, great addition to the layout. Okay, so we're over here at Amboy Engine Facility. I powered up the layout. Now, as you can hear, it's quite noisy, and I only have 3 sound locos running. I have the 6848, which has a Digitrax board in it. I have the 2808, which has another Digitrax board, and I have the 6858, which has the Loc Sound board in it. And you know, it's a little noisy. So I was trying to figure out a way how to quickly just power them, you know, turn the sound off. You know, a lot of other people have, you know, put shut-off switches in. So I figured, you know, let's just put some power switches on the track. So, you know, don't forget, like I said in episode 23, the one track here, track 2, doesn't have this feature because, you know, when I was trying to lay the track, every time I tried to cut the rail gap, it would spring open. So I just kind of skipped it. So now what I've done is I've put in these toggle switches to power the track on and off. So if I zoom in here, you can see the toggle switches. Now when I turn the power off, the blue LED comes on, and all I've done is I've routed track power. Instead of going to the track, I put it to the LED. So these are 5 volt LEDs that I got at DigiKey, and I put a resistor in series. I went with blue because I figured, you know, it's kind of like putting a blue flag, so this way you know that nothing can move on that track, and that's because the power's off. And then when you know, if I want to turn them back on, I just turn them on, and of course the locomotives are going to go through their startup sequence and come back on. But you know, I could have done it without the blue LED, but I just figured, you know, it's a neat little function. You know, just see that on. So, okay. So one of the biggest changes that I did in this room is I put in carpet. I picked out a Berber carpet that's kind of greenish in tone to match the paint on the wall, and you know, it's just made it so much nicer in here. It's easy to stand. It makes it warm. It doesn't echo, and there's not a lot of dirt and dust. And it's easy to vacuum and clean up, you know, and it really touches off the room nicely. So that was a big addition that I don't think I've shown you here on YouTube. So, you know, now that I got the carpet installed, I was able to, you know, make the room a little more homey and not be like a big construction area with dust and debris. And, you know, I wanted a place to put all my materials down here, all my back model railroaders, Conrail quarterlies, and all my reference books. So, you know, I got these great little black wooden bookshelves from Walmart. They were very inexpensive. They're only 17 bucks. And I put them, and they fit under nicely. So, and then I went and got some of these storage cardboard box to put all the magazines in, and I labeled them all so I know what is what. This way, you know, I now have my reference library set up, so when I'm doing work down here, if I need a book or some kind of document or something like that, I can just go to the shelf and pull it out, and, you know, I have it all readily accessible. And, you know, it also shows off it makes it nice to show off to people when they come, you know, to see all the material and stuff. But, you know, I will eventually put curtains up, but the curtain rod will be able to pull the curtain back so I can easily get into these bookshelves. So, you know, that was another big addition, so very happy with that. You know, as we've discussed in the past, you know, the Sayhurst secondary is going to be all dark territory. There's no signals and no block detection. So, you know, I had to come up with a way for the dispatcher to visually keep track of all the trains that he's handling. So, you know, I wanted to come up with a dispatcher display board. So as you can see, you know, I went to Walmart and got one of those magnetic whiteboards, and relatively inexpensive, $20. And then I went to the auto parts store and got some pinstripe taping. And I just laid out a one-line track diagram and labeled everything so you could see, and it came out really well. You know, I chose to go white on black, well, partly because I couldn't find any black magnetic boards, but if you could find them, you could always go with a white diagram on black. You know, and I took the time to go ahead and label all the areas. And then what I did was I went and got some flat magnet material. You can find it in the craft section, also in Walmart. All the stuff I got in Walmart, with the exception of the pinstripe tape. And, you know, one side of the magnet comes in a big flat mat. One side is sticky, so I peeled it off and I kind of laminated onto some blue construction paper. And if you see, what I did is I put labels on there. So this is for the WJSA35. And now this becomes a marker, you know, so you can move the train across the status board, so he knows, hey, you know, SA35's got the track down in Englishtown, and he can just see it right there. You know, and I made all kinds of different areas on the bottom. I'm going to tilt the camera a little bit for you. You know, I made these blocks down on the bottom. This represents staging, Oak Island. Then we got Brown's Yard, South Amboy, the lower level, so he can keep track of any trains that are going through the lower level. This is staging here, Pavonia Yard, and this was just an open block so I could stick all the extra stuff over here. Came out really good. You know, the only thing I haven't done yet is I have to put the lengths of the runarounds. So that's still a project I got to do. Hopefully I can get it done by Saturday. So that's the dispatcher display board. And then the best part about it is you can make notations on your status board. So if the SA35 is in Englishtown, you could put the Form D, you know, Form D number 101. So this way you can keep track of it. So, you know, just a great option, you know, if you're getting into operations, is to think about building a little board like this. Took me one evening, so it was well worth the time. So the very next evening, you know, I was like, hey, you know, we need some kind of board to put all the jobs on. Went back to Walmart, got another whiteboard, and used the rest of the pinstripe tape up and just made a quick board. You know, the crew, the trainer job, and any kind of notations. There's 3 quick columns. So you can put dispatcher and you can put whoever picks that job, and then any kind of notations that we got to leave. So, you know, it was a great little option. Again, this board was only like 12 bucks. So, you know, $12 and a quick little evening of putting the pinstripe lines down, and we got a little board for our work assignments. So some of the other little things I did for the session was I got things, organized and together in a central location. So, what I did was I got this little bin. Again, you can get a Target or Walmart, just a couple little drawers. The bottom drawer, I keep all my admin supplies, pens, pencils, paper clips, and other stuff. This drawer here is all my forms, return customer forms, bad order forms, weigh and transit forms, already bundled together. So in case we need them, we got spare car cards. And then this drawer is all of my forms, my Form Ds, my switch lists, and I took the time to label them. So this way you can just see quickly where it is and just open it. And it's lightweight, I can carry it, so it's easy to take up the stairs to dispatch. The other thing what I did was I took a blue bin that I had laying around, and I just put all the stuff that we need to run our session. So the first thing, clipboards. These are really great clipboards for model railroading. They're only $1.99 at Walmart. So get these here. I just picked up a bunch of them. The other thing I took the time to do is to get some aprons. You're giving everybody a bunch of stuff. You're giving them car cards, weigh bills, radio, their throttle, and all that. And most people only have 2 pants pockets. So you need somewhere to put all this stuff. So went to Home Depot. Unfortunately, they got the label on it. It would have been nice if it had a railroad label, but I wasn't going to be that lucky. And they were relatively inexpensive. I think they were like $6 a piece. So I picked up a handful of these, so just to have them. So if the operators want them, here you go. If they don't want them, well, carry all the stuff around in your pockets. So the other thing was, again, some more admin supplies. Rulers, black felt pins, red felt pins, just put them in there so they're easily accessible. The big thing what I did was, because we're modeling 1988, was I went online to, the website is staging.timeanddate.com. And what you can do is you can go in there and enter the year that you want, and you can pull up the calendar. So I pulled up the calendar and printed it out, and then I laminated it. But also on the back side is I put the Julian date calendar on the back, and that's good for the dispatcher because Conrail used to denote at the end it would be WJSA 35-162. Well, what does that number mean? Well, the 162 is actually the Julian date in the calendar. So if you go here and you look in 1988, 162 would be the 10th of June in 1988. All it was is it started on January 1st was day 1. 1, 2, 3 through 30 is January, then 31 is February 1st, and so on and so forth till you get to 365, which is December 30th. So that's what the Julian date is. So a lot of government agencies use that, so I just took the time, downloaded and printed it out. So this way I have a quick reference, so I don't got to go online during a session, so I can just fill out the paperwork. The other big thing is I got is, these, this is kind of a good thing is the radios. I was able to get them from B&H, 3-pack for $52. That's a great deal. Comes with the chargers and batteries. So they're rechargeable battery packs, the Nikon ones. And if you don't want to use these, so if they go dead in a session, you can actually still use the AA batteries in the back. So great little radio. I haven't really tested them out. I got to get them charged up before the session. But, also, keep that in consideration. Buy a radio that can use both rechargeables and AA's, because if the radio goes dead, you can always swap them out. And so the last project that I did for dispatch was my train order book. It's a big 3-ring binder. So what a train order book is when you're going to be issuing track warrants or Form Ds, you need to keep track of them. So usually, if you look, a lot of railroads would use ledger books. So I wanted some kind of book to keep track of everything, of all the Form Ds, and also it's kind of like a diary of the model railroad, so we know who was operating on what date, and we'll keep that as a record, and that'll come into play, if anybody's going up for their master model or through the NMRA. I'll have all these documents. And so all I did for the train order book was I took a 3-ring binder, and I got from Staples this column pad paper that was all lined, and then all I did was I just put in all the columns that I wanted. And so what I did is if you open it, I marked all these columns. So, the Form D number, the train name, remark section, so if there's any kind of notations, we have a big area to write, and time effective for the Form D, the dispatcher who issued the Form D, time cleared on the Form D and the dispatcher who cleared it, and any kind of little notes on the side. And then what happens is each line is numbered, line 1, 2, 3, all the way down. So the first Form D 101 has that whole line for all the way across the page. So that's important. So you want to know, what Form Ds have been issued, when they were cleared, if they're still active, and all you do is just sign in there in red when you cleared it, and you know that Form D is no longer active. So that's how you keep track of all those. Because don't forget, those are track warrants. You don't want to issue Form D 101 and have it an overlapping Form D that gives the same track away to the same train. So this way, it's just another way of keeping track of that so you don't run into that problem. And with today's technology, the computer systems, real railroads don't do that anymore, but back in the 50s, 60s, and into the early 70s, they were still doing it all long form and on paper like this. You can look out there and there's still a lot of historical societies who preserved all those documents. So I thought a train order sequence book was important just to make sure everything runs smoothly and we don't have any problems. So the last little project I undertook while getting ready for the session was the staging yard. It bugged me that the staging yard appeared to be a closet. I didn't want the operator to feel like they were working in a closet and they were forgotten. So I went in there and I dressed it up. I painted the walls blue. I painted all the benchwork green to match everything else. And I even went so far as to put some pictures up on the wall. And if you look, the center two pictures are Port Newark, New Jersey. This picture down here is Philadelphia. And this picture here is New York City. Now I went ahead and put those up there because that's what staging represents. So, and if you noticed, I went back and found a dated picture, because I am modeling 1988, so the trade towers were still there. So that's why that picture's up. And so the other thing I did was I installed these rubber floor mats. They're little tiles, just to make it more comfortable to stand, so you're not standing on the concrete for long periods. It just makes it more appealing. And then back up on the wall over here, what I did is I took my old board and my calendar and posted that up there. So the staging yard operator, if he needs to make any notes, he has somewhere to write them down. And I got the calendar with all my important events scheduled on it. So, just dressed it up a little so it's not a closet. Okay, so there you go. So there's a little tour. So you can see I've been pretty busy getting prepared for this session, getting a lot of little projects done that need to get done. And I think I've got everything covered. I don't think there's anything I missed, but if there is, somebody shout out. Maybe something I'm overlooking. But as you can see, I got everything all set to go. Very excited. I was just talking to some people through email that are going to be here on Saturday, and it's going to be a great time. So what you can plan is I'm going to do some video, and I'll put a video together, and I hopefully can get it out first thing, Monday or Tuesday, so you guys can see how the session went. And of course, get my little commentary to tell you, what my thoughts are, what I learned, and hopefully help you make better decisions and avoid any mistakes that I did. So, with that being said, that's all I have for you this time with Central Jersey, Conrail, and N-Scale. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to the channel so you can see how the session went. And if you're watching this for the first time, come subscribe to our channel so you can follow along and see how everything's going. Otherwise, that's all I have for you. We'll see you next time. Thanks.